So today what we're going to do is we're going to make a drawer out of a 1x6 piece of pine. We're going to use the router to cut a groove, and we're going to set that all up. We're going to set up this router with a 1/4 inch. I don't have a dado blade for my saw, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a router to cut my groove for the bottom of my drawer. This is the one I'm going to use right here. It cuts a slot. As you can see, it cuts a slot in the wood, and you can use different sizes. In my case, I'm just going to use one that's a 1/4 inch wide. Now then, lay those over here to the side. First thing I'm going to do, make sure your router is unplugged before you ever mess with your bits. And I'm going to stick my bit in my router. Okay, so what we're doing, guys, is this is a drawer. We're going to make another one like this. The one I had on the vanity broke. The front won't be exactly the same, but it'll be the same size box because I've already got slides in my cabinet, and it'll be the same size box, same size slides. I've got those right here, and it'll also be the same width. This is I think it's 5.5. Yep. So this is a 1x4, or 1x6. This one's 5.5, same width. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an entire box and then put the face on a little bit afterwards. I'm going to make the back piece and this piece. First of all, I'm going to cut this groove right here to hold the bottom in. And so that's what we're going to do today. Now, I'm not going to use special hardware to put these together. I'm going to use self-tapping screws, wood screws. That way they drill the hole as they go in. All right, first thing we've got to do, we've got to set the depth of our router. You can set it like this. You can set it, main thing is I just don't want it to be deeper than half of my board is wide. So my board, this board is 3/4. I don't want it to be more than 3/8. Tighten up my router bit. So I've got it set for about 1/4 inch. And so you can see how it's sticking out there, about 1/4 inch. Once I get it where I want it, lock it in, that's ready to go. Now what I want to do is I've got to measure from the side of my router, and you turn that bit to where you can get to the middle of it. I'm going to turn it from the side of my router to the bit is 3 1/16. 3 1/16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to make a mark 3 1/16. Okay. Now, I don't have a traditional guide, so what I'm going to do is I've got a straight edge here. This is just a piece of OSB that I've got. It's got a really good straight edge on it, and I'm going to put it on my mark, and I'm going to, now if I routed this right here like this, it would make a groove on the edge of my board. So what I've got to do is I've got to move it. Here, as you can see, it's moved about, I've got to move it about 3/4 inch. So what I need to do, why don't we just make that 3 3/4 right there, right here, 3 3/4, 3 3/4. That's where my straight edge is going to be as my guide for my router, and that'll cut me a groove 3/4 over from the edge, because that'll give me my 3 and a little over a 3 as my base. So let's clamp this on. Guys, you can make a jig out of just about anything. These clamps are really handy for this. Tighten it up. There's that one. Place this one on my line. I'm going to clamp this one. And there's my guide. Now then, all I've got to do is run my router right down the side of that, and it'll cut a groove right here about 3/4 of an inch over, and then I can start cutting that out for my side and my ends on my drawer. Okay, so we've got our router. Always be extra careful when you're using a router. That thing can get away from you. It's really a dangerous tool, and if it gets a hold of you, it'll do some damage before you can say scat. Get my electric cord over here. All right. Okay, we're plugged in. Now, before I put a mark on my board that I'm going to use for my drawer, I'm going to get a piece of scrap and just see whether or not I like the depth that I'm cutting. I'll just use this old 2x4 here. It won't matter a whole lot. I just need to see how deep my groove is going to be. And I want to turn the window to myself so I can see it. Always wear your safety glasses. And as you can see, it's going to cut a groove about that deep. Now I might want it a little bit deeper than that. If I can get it a little bit deeper than that, it'll just make the drawer that much stouter. So let me unlock it. And I reset it a little deeper. That may be too deep. Let me try it and see. Okay, so that's probably about 3/8. That's about half my 3/4. Think I'll raise it just a hair. I don't want to make it to where it's weak in that drawer. All right, let's see here. There we go. One more try. See what it does. That's raised it about 1/8. And that's about right. That's about right for what I want right there. Okay. Now then, that throws stuff all over you. I've set up my board to where you can see that I am running. I've got a guide clamped onto my board. I've got it measured over 3 3/4, and that's going to give me a space for the bottom. I'm gonna cut that space, and then that'll give me my sides and my back and my front to my drawer. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this as a guide and run my router down through here, and see if I can't get a good straight line before I cut my ends and my sides out of this board. You just want to cut your groove first if you ever do this. Some people use a dado blade on a saw. Well, I don't have a dado blade. Start on this end, put my safety glasses on, get my router started. Okay guys, now I have a groove in my board all the way down. Take the air compressor and let's blow it out. Now you have a nice clean groove for your bottom of your drawer. Now let's go cut the sides and we'll cut the ends and we'll make us a box. Okay, unplug the router. We're not through with the router. We've still got to make our face and we're going to route the edges. But what we're going to do right here, before we do that, we're going to take this bit out, I unplug the router, take it out, put it back in the box. There's quite a bit of things you can do with a router, guys. Take our little rollover, not this one, this one. Take a rollover bit. Let's put it in here. Now then, and that's not even high enough. There we go. Okay, that is ready for later. Let's measure our ends and let's see how big of a drawer we're gonna need. We're gonna need 2 pieces. I'm gonna pull an inch. We're gonna need 2 pieces 6 inches wide, 6 inches for the ends. So let's go cut 2 6s. And 2 15 and 3/4. 2 6s and 2 15 3/4. Let's go over to the chop saw. Their board. And because we've got a knot right here, I'm gonna make a 16 inch or a 15 3/4 inch cut first, so I can use my lumber and not have to worry about that knot. Right there. Get it flat against my fence. There's one side. Now what I do with this one, that's my pattern. Just put it on there and get the ends flush. There it is. Make me a line. There's the other side. Now I need 2 6s. There's 1 6. And you notice I'll make sure that there's not a knot close to my cut. That way it doesn't split out on the end. That one's flush. Now this one has a knot, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the other end. Make it flush. Shouldn't matter, my grooves will line up because I ran it all the way down. And there's that one. Let's cut it off. Now this time I want to leave the line on this side. Man, I had a little bit extra left if I needed to make, if I had one that busts out on me. Okay, I'm gonna take my pieces over here. Okay, so now we've got our ends and we've got our box. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some self-tapping screws. I've got these with my light sitting right here. These are just 1.25 inch self-tapping wood screws. They got the driller on there. I found that if you use these, you don't have to worry about these splitting your wood out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill these in, and I've got to go get the drill and the bit. All right, guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of these self-tapping screws, and I'm gonna put my box together, and I'm gonna set it back. Flush it up. Now be careful. These screws have a these screws have a cone-shaped head. I don't know if you can see that on camera, these screws have a cone-shaped head, and that cone-shaped head will cause your board to split out if you try to countersink them. I'm not planning on doing that. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a measure. I've got to put them together so I can get a measurement on my piece of board that I'm going to put in there for a bottom, but I've got to measure the groove. Flush up this end. There's that one. Now I'm not going to put all the screws in it, just enough to hold it to get me a measurement. There's that one. This will end up having 2 screws on each end, and I'll probably glue it too. First things first, I got to measure, get a measure on the bottom. There we go. All right, we got our box started. I can go ahead and put another one in here if I need to. Put these here below the groove. See the groove there? I'm gonna put my screw below the groove. Make sure there's not a knot over here. Like over here, I'll probably have to make sure I don't hit that knot so it doesn't split out. With these driller screws, you usually don't have an issue. Okay, there's that end. Now you can see my board's bent just a hair. I can push that down and countersink it just a hair and suck it up. Do one here, away from my groove, above the groove. Okay, now then you can see I've got my box and I've got my groove all the way around. So now what I need to do is I need to get a measurement from the edge here to the edge here. That gives me my width, verified on both ends, and then that's the width, and we know that that far distance on each end is how deep we'll be inside this board, so we can make that measurement. All right, do a little calculating here. We'll pull an inch from right there to there is going to be 6 3/16. I'm going to do 6 1/8. 6 1/8. Doesn't have to be so snug that it won't suck up. So 6, I'm pulling an inch, remember. 6 1/8. It's going to be 6 1/8 wide. Let me double check the other end. My groove should be the same both ways. 6 1/8 will work. And now on this end here, I've got 1/4 and 1/4. So I just need a half. So I'm going to measure inside here, and it's 14 3/8. So we're going to add a half to that, and that would be 14 7/8. 14 7/8. Well, I better write this down. 14 7/8 by 6 1/8. Okay. Double check, make sure this is 14. 14 3/8 plus a half is 14 7/8. Now I'm gonna go find the material for my bottom. You can see they just used a little piece of paneling, and that's basically what I'm gonna use as well. We got some over here. This is why my wife always says, you need to throw some stuff away, and yes I do, but as soon as I do, guess what? I'll need it. So let's find some. I can use some of this, but I don't really want to use that. It's a little bit thicker than I thought. I think it would work. Oh, you scared me to death, Jet. Whew, thought I was dog bit. You want a treat? Jet came in, he stuck his hand, his nose right in my hand. Scared me to death. Treat, treat. Good boy. Okay, I'm gonna make this 6. Double check that with this. 6 1/8. That one's 6 1/8. Okay. Gonna go 14 3/4. 14 3/4. Okay. Okay guys, there's my bottom. I'm gonna take it apart now, fit that in, see how it works. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna put a screw in it just to hold it and show you. Okay, there is our bottom. There's our board. really and truly, you probably wouldn't even have to put any glue on it. Just put the other screws in it. You're good to go. Put a face on it and you're done. And then put your guides on it. All right, let's see what we can do. Find my glue over here. It's a good sign that it's wanting to stick together with the screws out of it. Good tight fit. What we're going to do though, take the wood glue and we're going to put it right down in. We're going to glue this right in here. Glue will just make it stronger, guys. Put a little bit right here on the edges. All right, we got this side done. Put our screws back in it. Be careful that you don't sink it and cause your wood to split out. There you go. There's that side. Now then, let's take this side. We're going to do the same thing. All right. We got this one. And it's going to go right back on the groove. And we're going to put the screws in. There's that one. There's that one. Pop off the extra glue, pull that in where it needs to be. There's that one. Okay, this one acted like it didn't catch. See here, I've got 4 screws left. So what we're going to do, now we're going to end up making, so we've got our box, we've got our bottom of our drawer, it's there. What we're going to do now is we're going to make the front, and we're going to make it the same size as that one. So let's just measure that one real quick. It's just a square. Now the one I'm making is not going to be this fancy. This one's 9 3/4 by 9. First things first, got to cut my board. I got some scrap 1/2 inch down here that I had left over from my cabinet doors that I made. This is just high grade plywood. It's going in a rent house. Okay. Now I'm going to go from the factory edge because that's my square side. Okay, that should be close. 9 3/4 by 9, and that's going to be my front. Boy howdy, I screwed that up, didn't I? Now we want to route the edges of it. Okay, we're going to drawer front, take my sanding block, and when I get a piece, I get some paint on it. You want see any of that plywood edge, it'll be paint and we'll be good to go. There's my door front. There's the drawer front, guys. There's my drawer. Now it's just a matter of screwing it to it. Now I've got 4 screws that I've got. These 4 screws, let me show you here what I'll do. These 4 screws will go in, but they shouldn't poke through the face of this front. All right, they should be close, but they should not poke through the face of the front. I'm gonna glue it. I'm gonna measure it and glue it and put it on there. I gotta find out how far from the edge this one is. The bottom is gonna be 1 inch. 1 inch, which should make the top 2.5 inches. Okay. So if the bottom is 1 inch, that's the bottom. Then the top should be 2.5. That's where it needs to be. All right. So here's where I'm going to mark the bottom. I'll mark the top. Now then, we got to find out the sides. Sides are going to be 1.25 inches. 1 and a little over 1/4. 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches. 1 and a little over 1/4. Just center that right there. And double check it. 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches. Make you a line. Make you a line. Now then, that, guys, needs some glue. There's where your drawer is going to sit. You need to glue it on, and then you need to put some screws in it. So I'm going to do it like this. Put some glue on it. I'm going to put some screw. I'm going to put 4 screws in here, and then that will help hold it. The drawer handle itself will hold it the rest of the way. Excuse me. I know that's way too much, but I'm going to spread it around a little bit. Line it up with your marks. And with your screws. Now remember, you're not going to countersink these. As a matter of fact, it'd be best if you put them in at an angle. Put them in at a little bit of an angle. That way, they don't come through. Okay guys, so what I did was I went and now we've got our box together, we've got our front on. we've put our screws in the face and glued it, and we put them in at an angle so they wouldn't come through the face, but they're grabbing enough to suck that down on that glue. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these, we got to put our drawer guides on. Okay, put our drawer guides on, and I've went and got some 16-inch drawer guides. Real simple 16-inch drawer guides. Put these on with 3 nails on each side. We're going to put one right up here in the front. Now, guys, these right here are not meant to they're just meant to hold the guides on. Put one down here in the bottom. Push that down. Okay. Put another one right back here. There's that side. Now then, let's find the drawer guide that goes on the other side. And it should look like this one here. Okay, just exactly like it. As you can see, just like it. Now our drawer front isn't going to be as fancy and pretty, but remember, it's going to get the job done. We just got to paint it. Let's put this one on up here first. There's that one. Put one here on the bottom. This is why you want to make that pretty deep, so that you can put these screws on and you won't have to worry about the screws busting it out. Okay, there are our drawer guides. And now all we got to do is finish it, put some paint on it, and we've got a new drawer, guys. That one is done. I'll paint it tomorrow. I don't have the paint here with me, but there is our finished drawer. Guys, simple to make a box. It's simple to make the bottom by using a router and a chop saw. You can use a skill saw. You can use a table saw, but a router really does well for making a groove. You just want a 1/4 inch bit, and now you've got a solid box bottom that's glued in, and that one ought to last a long time unless a tenant really gets rough with it. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up and a like, and we will take it from there, and I appreciate you. We'll talk to you later.